welcome, you guys. I don't know how many of you had something that's going to make you sleepy, but I hope not, because we're going to have, I think, a great conversation today. I do have some comments prepared, and that was a great intro and setup by Leslie. And we are going to talk a little bit about these special strengths that women bring to the table. But since we're talking about an innovation economy, and since I thoroughly believe that this economy will be built by all of us here, and that men have every bit as much in the game for a future as women do. I'm really going to set up the context of what does it mean for an innovation economy, and what is the specific role that women partnered with men can play in that economy. Just to build, I'm going to go through a couple slides really quickly here, just to build off a little bit of what Leslie said. One of the things that we explored about 2.5 years ago, my world of almost 20 years in sustainability, I was in sustainability when it was not just discouraged to say the word, I was told not to say the word. And I had a long time of working through a lot of where we are now, where we can talk about the unsustainability of some of what we do, but we're not really always getting to the heart of the matter. And then 2.5 years ago, I had a convergence of my love of sustainability innovation and my confusion and I was confused and intrigued by the enduring inequality of women in leadership. While we start seeing numbers change and women implementing, the numbers at the top aren't great. So that's sort of what led us to today, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation with you. And write down your notes and conversations, because I want to hear from you about your ideas for an innovation economy and the role that we can all play together as well. So this is our one gorgeous planet, and oftentimes when I'm speaking to groups of women and men who have a background in innovation and entrepreneurship, and not so much a background in understanding what you all probably understand very well, which is the deep story and the deep challenge that faces us. This is the entire ecosystem for everybody here, and it will be, no matter how much pressure we put on it, into the future. The numbers keep changing, and frankly, they scare me pretty bad. So it used to be that it was going to be 2050 when we needed 2 Earths to deal with what we're doing. The rate of population growth, but more importantly, the rate of growth of gross domestic product across the planet in the way that we've defined it, which is essentially a consume and not replace model, means that now by 2030, we will need 2 Earths. I check every day. I'm pretty excited about the stuff on Mars. I don't want to go live there. But frankly, there's no second Earth out there. So we have to innovate our way out of this problem, and we don't have nearly as much time as we thought we did. There will be disruption. Whether the planet does it for us, which we're going to see some of, there's no getting around it. We need to understand what resiliency means in the next few years, and we're feeling some of that already in terms of climate. But the disruption can be disruption that we cause and disruption that we manage. Last year at this conference and a couple others, I caused quite a stir by saying that I'm not putting my money on corporations, many of whom I've worked with a lot of great corporations who are doing great stuff in sustainability, don't get me wrong. And I'm not putting my money in the government, even though I've also worked in governments, and I understand that at the heart they are very, very much trying to do the right thing. But these are big, stable bureaucracies. And the beautiful thing about big bureaucracies and corporations and governments is that they are very stable. The horrible thing about these big governments and corporations is that they are very stable, and they don't really do innovation, breakthrough, and changing themselves very well. And I think it's also very difficult to ask somebody to work themselves out of a job without a clear picture of the future. But what I will tell you, what is true, is that they will respond to market disruption. So my money is on innovators, entrepreneurs, and especially the women. What we have now is we just have to figure out the code. We have to understand what's in there, where do we put pressure, and what do we begin to change? How quickly can we make these changes happen? One of the things about innovation is that it is nonlinear. So are the challenges we're facing right now on the planet. If you read anything about the ecosystem imbalance and tipping points, every few weeks it changes. And I think that's been used in the United States in particular to discredit science. But it's not a discredit to science at all. It's an understanding within the science community of the complexity of tipping points and of nonlinear change. You add one little leaf to a pile, and all of a sudden you've reached a tipping point. Who knows where that leaf comes from? So here's my cut on what the next economy must do. And I'm going to put on my reading glasses so I don't get any of this wrong for you guys. And I really, like I said, take notes, tell me what you think, tell me where we differ. But here are the things that I really believe in order to get to an innovation economy we must do. We must leverage the strengths of the entire planet in terms of leadership for business innovation and the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And women, I really believe this is largely up to us. But that is the only way that we're actually going to get everybody in the game. And you see that I spelled rapidly wrong, but rapidly shift systems. Get to the core of our current economic model breakdown. We have an economic model that is fundamentally broken. I heard an astonishing number. What was it, Sarah? I'm going to get it wrong. 30 billion, the oil subsidies? $80 billion in the US of subsidies go to oil companies, old energy companies. And when you start thinking about that, it's clear to understand, as Peter Bick said, we don't have a free market economy. We have a stilted market economy. It's held up with lots of different stilts in different ways, but we don't have a free market economy. I believe we really need to kick up collaboration. I have to tell you that personally, I'm actually tired of hearing the word and not seeing the action. Who here in the room believes they're going to get credit for saving the planet? Raise your hand. No? Well, I'll tell you, I work way too often with too many men and some women who really believe that if they just do it right, that they're going to get the credit. And it just breaks my heart because I believe that this desire to be the winner, this competition, is what's stopping real collaboration from happening. And we have to get at the heart of that. We have to call it out for what it is. And we, as leaders, really have to step in and say, no, this is how collaboration happens. I'm going to let go of my thing. I'm going to rename this. I'm going to merge with you. We're going to make this thing move forward. And only until that happens will we actually have the kind of joint collaboration and true engagement of the public who just look at us sometimes and shake their head. I mean, in many ways, we reflect the political system, which is no good thing. It's not a thing to brag about. And I think the final thing is we have to embrace and prepare for disruption. We have to build resiliency into everything we do, into the economic models, into our own business, into our families, into our food system, into our lives. Because I, for one, believe we've got a little bit of a rough road ahead. So now on to talking about this a little bit. What is the role of diversity in innovation? Innovation only happens at the seams, right, in organizations and in natural ecosystems. The most innovative part of any ecosystem is where the forest meets the river, or where the pasture meets the creek, or where the forest meets the meadow. All of these places have multiple kinds of species engaging, and sometimes the way those species engage causes amazing things to happen in the context of the ecosystem. The correlation between diversity and innovation is really high, and the correlation between diversity and innovation and women is also very high, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So in terms of what we need for innovation, I am a strong believer that innovation, while you can get a lot of things happen that are crowdsourced and start at the grassroots level, big change, which is what we're facing, needs great leadership. And again, back to it doesn't take a single person, but it takes a great group of leaders stepping up. And that kind of leadership has to be diverse. Now, this may not be a very fair picture, because it is actually from the movie 12 Angry Men, and they do look a little angry. And I know a lot of great men, and I'm in rooms where they don't look like this, but I'm way too often still in rooms where that's the gender split, me and 12 guys. And that's not a good thing. It's 2012. So we really have to get down to how to break down this balance. Here's just some stats, and I'm not going to read all of these. You guys can look at them. But in every sector, we're leaving the required leadership for a new economy. Half of it is still in the sky or on the table or whatever metaphor you want to use. The boards of 1 in 10 Fortune 500 companies include no women. You guys know these numbers. It's really heartbreaking. To achieve parity in Congress, this is the one that kills me. At the rate that we are adding women now would take over 500 years. Among content creators for media, only 7% are directors, 13% of writers, and 20% of producers are female. Here's one that's not on there that gets me every time. It has to do with the media and the way the media represent women's role and what's going on. When there are crowd shots in movies and in media, guess what the portion of women in the crowd is? In a population where women are 51, 52% of the population. Any guesses? 17%. 17%. And that's averaged out over lots of movies and shows. So where are we? Where are we, ladies? We're not in the movies, we're not getting represented, and we're not in leadership. So these are statistics that really can get me worked up. And if they don't upset you a little bit, they should. But here's a secret, and I chose this because it kind of goes with the 12 Angry Men by era. We have an incredible amount of influence because we control 85% of all spending, 85% of all decisions relative to household, personal, housing, cars, 85%. That's $7 trillion in the United States. By any measure, that's a lot of influence. 51% of all US private wealth is held by women. And 50% of all stock ownership is now in the hands of women. So why aren't we leveraging that money? Why aren't we doing more to make sure that that money gets used in different ways? Well, one of the reasons why is because it's a $7 trillion body of opportunity has resulted in a $1 trillion marketing industry that focuses on women. An incredible amount of money is focused on telling us to buy stuff, to feel better about ourselves, so we can look like those models and the airbrushed women on the covers of magazines. And if we just buy this one more thing that maybe we need, but probably we don't, we're going to feel better about ourselves and we'll have the life that's been promised from the time that we're 3 and the fairy tale stories start. So yeah, I am going to ask you to change your behavior in very specific ways. I just came from a really fun conference that I helped put on with a colleague of mine in Seattle called WINS 2012, Women in Innovation. And the beautiful thing about this was that everybody there were lots of speakers. We had a great day focused on food and markets. But everybody really got at the heart of it, that this untapped purse power is something we don't need permission for. We can begin doing it tomorrow. We went out and captured on Twitter a hashtag that's #PoundPursePower. And we're encouraging women to get a little bit more informed about what they're doing, but not just in the way they shop, which is sort of the green economy answer, right? Shop more green, get more sustainable products, but also in the choices you're making every day with your money. You know, think about it, $7 trillion. What if we took 15% of $7 trillion and decided to invest it in women entrepreneurs? As women, stepping up, putting our money where our mouth is, knowing that women get only 3% of venture capital and not much more than that in terms of angel funding. What if we stepped up and said, never mind, we have a lot of money, we'll spend it there? That would make a huge difference. And the other thing it would do is send an incredible market signal. It would send an incredible market signal to markets, to companies, and most importantly, to men who might otherwise not invest to say, wow, look at that. Those companies are getting some money. Those women are smart, capable, they know what they're doing. They're not just throwing their money away, they're doing their research, they're investing. I want to think some more about this. We need to use ourselves to break through that system. Here's some specific other things I want to do. I think we can disrupt Wall Street. You know, it's one thing to occupy. I think that was good. It was a little bit, the message was too late, it was too far removed, it was slow getting media attention. We all know the things that they went through. I really supported and believed in that movement. But let's come up with some alternative investment platforms. Your investments tell a really big story. It is legal in every state in the union for states to have a direct trading platform for companies for ongoing concerns where they can raise up to $1 million a year. What we're trying to do right now is to raise that cap a little higher and create alternatives for your investment. So there's a company that you know that's local, that's growing, that you're excited about. It's an eco company, or it's a sustainable farm, or it's some company that you believe in, and it's in your community, and you want to invest in it instead of, you know, just letting your 401k sit with some mutual fund that you know nothing about in terms of where those investments and where that dollar really goes. So this goes back to pound purse power in a very specific way. We want to really encourage local banking that rewards innovation. Supportland, right now, is a credit card that is a rewards program that rewards you and gives you points on your card, your reward card, for shopping locally. So this is a way that you can bring back the community aspect to your purse power without and also get an extra benefit and grow this opportunity. This right now only exists in Portland. God bless Portland for embarrassing all of us and leading the way, even us Seattleites. But it could be anywhere. It's an easy thing to duplicate, and it's largely being led by local banks and federal credit unions. And then the other thing is know what your money is doing. If a company that you love has not been transparent, you can assume that that what you think is true. That if you haven't even tried to know, you'll never know, right? If they haven't tried to be transparent, you can assume that they're not very happy with what they're doing, or somebody in the company doesn't believe in that kind of transparency. But if you haven't even tried to know, then you will know exactly what you know, which is nothing. Let's create some collaboration that counts. There's a great story about the German imperative relative to collaboration, which is that it only counts if you make it count for the economy, the future, and individuals. So they're not much on, I lived in Germany for 3 years, they're not much on just getting around and chatting. If they're going to collaborate, it's going to have a purpose, and the purpose is going to be very specific. This is why Germany, of all the developed countries, still has a pretty decent manufacturing industry, in which they pay, by the way, very good wages. And that is because the collaboration between the research schools and research streaming and the companies that are buying that research and implementing that research is very strong, and they have a strong conscious decision to grow a local economy. I thoroughly believe our companies and universities in this country could do that. It's not about the tools, it's about the outcome. So no matter how open your exchange intends to be, no matter how good your methodology or inquiry and collaboration is, if you're not getting outcomes that are moving the economy and helping people feel more empowered, it's not working. So back to the issue around women and leadership and what we have to do. Ladies, I thoroughly believe that 1/2 of the population should be 1/2 of the voice and 1/2 the leadership. If we can't make that happen in our lifetime, I really believe, or I think my lifetime, and I'm not that young anymore, I really believe that we are going to be missing the opportunity to create a truly sustainable and strong future for our kids' kids and their kids. This is an old one. I learned something fun about this poster. It was, everybody recognizes it, right? It's a World War II poster, the women that were put into the factories and stuff. What I learned recently is that this was an artist out of Seattle, and the important thing that came out of this was that it was also a very old image. The image itself wasn't made, I mean, they put the scarf on it and made it, very World War II look. But the image came from the movement in England, the women in England who were helping to abolish slavery. It wasn't suffragettes, it was women who said, we can do it. So that's how old that image is. And I believe it's about time we fulfill on that promise that our ancestors made for us. Here's one of my favorite quotes. It came out of the Chicago School, and it's been given credit to some of the very different architects, so I'm not going to say because I don't know. It's 3 different guys who get credit for it. But it's an important one from my perspective. And I did make a shift in it. I'll tell you what that is. Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir our blood, and probably themselves will not be realized. Make big plans. Aim high in hope and work, remembering that a noble logical diagram once recorded will not die, but long after we are gone, be a living thing, asserting itself with ever-growing insistence. And that's what we're doing right now. We're framing that ever-growing, insistent diagram. Remember that our children and grandchildren are going to do things that would stagger us. My grandparents would not believe the world as it is now. They've been gone for a few years now. But our kids and their kids and their kids are going to do things that will stagger us. So let's not underestimate, and let's leave a world the best prepared for them to accomplish it. It's all in our hands. Courage is not exhibited in one act. It is an ability to persist beyond discouragement. These things can be discouraging. The enduring inequality, the state of the planet, these things can be discouraging. But every day your heart beats. And every day your heart beats, you say, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And then you get up and you keep the good fight going.